Well, hello, Houston. I'm Elizabeth, Liz Miranda, your bilingual realtor with Miranda Properties, and welcome to Casa y Vida show. And as usual, well, first of all, let me tell you about the great guest that we're going to have. We are going to be having Cristina Morales with Morales Funeral Home, who's going to be talking to us about Death by Chocolate, a very exciting event that's coming up. We are also going to be talking to Susie Condelopoulos a little bit later about a home buying seminar that's taking place this Saturday in English and in Spanish, but that's going to be coming up in a little bit late, a little bit during our segment, so stay tuned for that. But we also want to go ahead and acknowledge our sponsors, as usual. Our show wouldn't be possible without them. Our first sponsor is Susie Condelopoulos, and Susie is a loan officer with Gateway Mortgage. If you're looking to get approved for a home loan or you want to get refinanced, you can call her at 281-250-2696. Our next sponsor is Texas Low Cost Insurance Agency. They specialize in homeowners insurance. So if you're looking for homeowners insurance or that flood insurance, make sure that you give them a call. Doesn't matter where you live, anywhere in Texas, they can help you. So moving on, I want to, of course, welcome our co-host, Sonia Rivera. Welcome, Sonia.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. As usual, how was your weekend? How's your week been so far?
It's been pretty good, pretty relaxing, pretty for a change. Always so busy, but this weekend was pretty relaxing. Didn't really do anything, out of the ordinary.
How are you liking the weather?
I love this weather. I love this weather. I like the summer better than the winter, but this weather, if it stayed like this, I would be very, very happy.
Yeah, I'm actually not wanting to get out of bed with this weather. I want to stay in and just curl up and watch TV and stay in my pajamas and drink hot chocolate.
Yeah, but one of the great things is about the weather is that it makes it a good time. I think it's a great time to go out and do things. In the summer, it's just too hot. Certainly for like festivals or things like that, it's just way, way too hot. And of course, in the winter, it's too cold. So I think this is the perfect time. And I'm wondering if this is why there's just so many events going on. There's just so many events going on in the community right now.
Yeah, so speaking of events, well, let me start with the Astros because
Okay.
I'm still brokenhearted about the Astros losing the game yesterday. So they're playing, they have another game tonight against the Boston Red Sox. And they played a really good game, and as usual, they always play really well, and they're a great group of guys. But yesterday was a nail biter. Last night was a nail biter. I was doing other stuff, and I kept going back and forth to check the score and make sure I wasn't missing anything. So make sure that you light your candles for the Astros. They have to win. They have to win tonight's game.
Absolutely.
What other events do we have going on?
Well, we've got some events going on. There is actually a, let me see what it's called. It's called the East End Street Fest. I think we have a flyer that we have on here. It's the East End Street Fest. We were trying to get them on our show, but they were so busy. So I wanted to make sure, that right there, I wanted to make sure that I tell people about it. It is actually this Saturday, October the 20th, and it is from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m., and it's going to be at the Navigation Esplanade. So right there, the address is 2800 Navigation. It's right there across from the Guadalupe Church. So this has been going on for several years. It's their 7th annual festival, and they're going to have, it's basically like a block party or several blocks. I know it's several blocks. They're going to have food and entertainment, a lot of things going on. They're also going to have music. They're going to be having Flaco Jimenez and Augie Myers, who's the original Tex-Mex band. They're also going to have a lot of different bands and different variety. So I think it's a great thing to go to because it's great for families. It's open to children also, so you can, parents, you can come out with your children, and it is free of charge. So I think, it sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, and I also read here that they're also going to have a beer garden. So they're going to have, several different kinds of beers to pick from. So you definitely want to go to that. And like I said, it's going to be, it's the East End Esplanade, and you can go to their website, which is East End Street Fest. So that you can get more information on
I
that.
always wonder where they get the name beer garden from, because my imagination, I just always think
They're growing beer.
A garden of beers. It probably sounds really interesting.
I imagine
to
that you're just
individuals.
sitting around the garden drinking beer.
Well,
That's
there
what I
used
like.
to be a venue right there down the street from the Esplanade called Roy's Beer Garden, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken,
yes,
and that was always
yes.
the image that I got in my head.
That's true.
So speaking of events that are happening, early voting starts Monday, the 22nd. So I encourage everybody, after you enjoy the street fest and you're relaxing on Sunday night, please make sure you have your IDs. You need an ID to vote. Early voting is taking place starting next Monday throughout the week, and then the next week. Election day is actually November 6th, but do not wait until November 6th, because November 6th you have to go to a very specific place that relates to you. So take your IDs, make sure you do your research. You can look up any of your candidates online. Go vote. You have to go vote. You can't complain if you don't vote. And I think we're going to cut to a commercial right now. Right?
Yes.
Right, so we'll be right back.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have a commercial. We'll be right back with our first guest, Cristina Morales. Well, welcome back to Casa, Vida, Houston. And next we are going to have Cristina Morales. But I want to tell you just briefly a little bit about her. Cristina Morales, at a very young age, took over the reins of the family's 87-year-old family business, which was a funeral home. She is the president of Morales Funeral Home, and she also leads the Felix and Angela Morales Memorial Foundation. Welcome, Cristina. We are very honored to have you here today with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with both of you. I love what you're doing here. I'm really fascinated by it.
It's awesome.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being here. Now, we see that you're an
Of
Astros
course.
fan. Yay!
Astros, we've got to win it. We're going to win it tonight and on the road.
Yeah, so we were talking about. I was talking about nail biting. How were you? Were you at the game?
I was at the game, and oh my gosh, we were so disappointed about that Altuve hit. You know, it was like, what?
There was a fan that reached, and it was just a big controversial
so-
issue.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I saw that on the news. I'm like, oh, what happened? So I
that
had
could
to
have really
play that.
changed things, but
Yeah.
but tonight we'll have it down.
We've got it.
That
Yes.
sounds awesome. Well, tell us, first of all, I want you to tell us a little bit about the history about your grandparents who started the funeral home.
Sure. So my grandparents, my grandfather was from San Antonio, New Braunfels area, and his brothers started a funeral home because his father had passed away, or their father had passed away, and they realized that the funeral services that they had weren't really friendly to their heritage, Mexican Americans, and they decided that it would be great to open a funeral home that catered to Mexican families. So each one of the brothers kind of ventured out and opened their own funeral home, and my grandfather ended up here in Houston, which was Cowtown back then. My grandma describes it, and nobody thought they would do well, but they did, and it's actually the only one that's still left of the Morales family. At one time, we had 13 funeral directors in our family.
Wow.
And now there's just a few.
So that was the first Hispanic funeral home in Houston.
In Houston, yes.
Wow, that's
Owned
amazing.
by Latinos, yes.
Wow. And then also he went on to open up the first Hispanic radio station in
He
Houston
sure
also,
did.
KLVL, right?
KLVL opened in 1950 on May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, my grandmother's birthday.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first Spanish language radio station in the entire Gulf Coast.
Wow.
So,
I
yeah.
remember them, when I
Yeah.
came down to Houston in the 80s, they were still around. I
Yes,
remember
yes. And shortly thereafter, I mean, they passed away, and the competition was just so hard. They were an AM station, so, but yeah, we have some wonderful memories and history of the radio station.
Yes, and of course now you've taken over the funeral home.
I have.
That's amazing.
I
a female.
have. And, you mentioned in your story, I took it over at a young age, and, it really is a male-dominated industry, and probably still pretty much today. But I stepped in with the guidance that my grandmother gave me in my early 20s, and I've been able to bring it
That's
to now.
awesome.
So I'm really proud of that.
Amazing. And I
Yeah.
also see that you do so much in the community.
Yes.
Y'all have a foundation. Like I
We
said, it's the
do.
Morales.
We do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. My grandmother, she started the foundation. She really wanted to give back to her community, and she loved her community, and it really was a wonderful legacy to leave. And we really try to go out into the community and provide different things, mostly to do with education. We want to empower our young Latinos and inspire them to become leaders in the community. It's so important.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you about the funeral business. So, what was it that they did that was different, that differentiated them from other?
Well, first of all, they spoke Spanish.
Okay.
So, families could come in that spoke Spanish, and they could speak in their the language they
Native
were most,
language.
their native
Sure.
language, the one they were most comfortable with. They also were used to, Latinos bring a lot of family to their funerals. I went to a conference one time and they was like, Latinos like to funeralize. And we do, you know, I think about the movie Coco and how it
yeah.
reflects how we feel about death and remembering our loved ones.
Celebration of life.
Yes, it's a celebration of life. And so, yeah, we've been doing it for a long time as Latinos, you know, Mexicans. And so I think that was a little different, and they were accustomed to that, and they were able to help families, and then also provide a good price. Because, you know, in those days, a lot of the immigrants that were coming in didn't have a lot of money to spend at, you know, some of the funeral homes, but they were able to provide it at a cost that was, you know.
That's great.
Fair.
That's a
That's
really great
amazing.
service.
No, go ahead. I was going to say.
In your sorry. So you have an event coming
Tell
up,
us
and,
about
and
Yes,
that actually
I'm
leads
so
into
excited.
the event that you're having.
Yes. So one of the things I guess I do as a funeral home owner, and I've been recognized for this now nationally, is some of the kind of unusual things that we do. And I actually went to another funeral home about 15 years ago and went to a Death by Chocolate party. It was out in Pearland. And it was to raise money for somebody who was running for city council or something over there. And I was just fascinated by the event. And I thought, you know, at the end of the day, the funeral home is just really a place to have an event. So I did my own for Karen Durr when she ran for city council back in, I think it was like 2009 maybe. And it was so successful, and we raised a lot of money and awareness for her. She didn't win, unfortunately, but it was a great lesson. And I learned that people could come into the funeral home and it didn't have to be sad and about a funeral. So my dear friend Yolanda Navarro, I reached out to her and I said, you know, I'd like to have this Death by Chocolate party again, but I need a local organization that needs money and something that's very local and, you know, a small organization. And she said, help my organization. And so, yeah, and it was perfect because she does the Shoes for Kids, or she was doing Shoes for Kids at the time. And we ended up raising $5,000 that first year. So we've just gained a lot of traction, and we ended up over the years raising 30,000 plus for Shoes for Kids.
Oh, wow.
And then we've kind of, Hurricane Harvey hit, and then we thought we need to help other organizations. Other people are always reaching out, we need help. And so we decided to help Hurricane Harvey. We'll always help Shoes for Kids. But this year we are helping Barrio Dogs, which is part of the Zenteno family. Gloria Zenteno is heading that up, and it's a wonderful organization that educates people about taking care of their pets to reduce the amount of stray pets that are in our city. And then also the Zenteno Sculpture Project, which will be a sculpture for in remembering Norma Zenteno, who passed away a few years back. And it'll be the first Latina statue commissioned in the city of Houston, and will be erected soon in the East End, where she grew up and lived.
That is
Great.
awesome.
Yes.
So what can
I was going to say, tell us about the event first of all before I forget. Tell us the date and the time.
Yes.
And
So I brought this little flyer. Hopefully you can see it.
I think we finally found the.
Oh,
yeah,
there
we
you
found
go.
it.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be on Thursday, October 25th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the funeral home. Of course, we won't be having any services that night. We shut down the funeral home completely just for this party. And it's very much a dessert party and very much a silent auction. When you walk in, you'll smell the chocolate. We have a huge chocolate fountain with plenty of things to dip into it. We have some food from Burro and the Bull, from our neighbors over at El Tiempo. We also have a guy that's going to make some like street tacos, which is going to be cool. We have a cotton candy machine. Person's going to be serving cotton candy. And then just, tons of chocolate and chocolate desserts, and then a silent auction that includes items from like dinners and a night stay at the Zaza Hotel, some a Louis Vuitton bag, and some shoes, like really crazy cool things. We also have like a skydiving certificate, so you can go
Awesome.
skydiving. So
Wow, some really good.
Do people come in
items.
costume?
some people do actually come in costume. I kind of wear something crazy, but I wouldn't call it a costume. Mostly cocktail attire, and one really neat thing that we do is face painting
Okay.
also. So people come in, and we have two face painters, and they do usually Dia de los Muertos style of face painting.
Okay.
And so people get there early. We have kind of a VIP treatment, and then just the regular entrance, but either one will get you some face painting.
Well, and I was telling Liz on the way over here before we started the show that when I grew up in Michigan, so where I grew up, we didn't have anything to do with Dia de los Muertos. We just didn't. I didn't know about it. Even though my family's from Mexico, just wasn't something we did in our community. So
Right.
when I first saw the Catrinas, I thought it was a little creepy. I said, gosh, why why are they dressed up? And it's, and they were celebrated. So once I
Yes.
really got
Right.
a hold of the meaning of it, it's just such a beautiful celebration of life, as we spoke earlier.
Yes, it is. It is. It's very fitting, in a funeral home to have something like this. And we're exploring, doing more that's for Dia de los Muertos. We do the face painting, and a lot of the decorations represent that, but we're not doing
The altars.
the altars or anything like that yet. But somebody else mentioned it to us. So, as this event evolves, it's still kind of a new event. We'll consider doing something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's so therapeutic for the families too.
Absolutely.
I think that families that have utilized your services, it's just a therapeutic
Yes.
tribute to their families.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to admit that I'm the same way. I didn't get altars. I didn't get Dia de los Muertos either. But actually, my sister actually makes beautiful altars. She's made them
Does she?
at different places like TBH, etc. So. From her creating the altars, her exhibits, I've seen, that because of course she made one for my mother and my grandmother.
Right.
So I'm like, now I understand, the reason. Yeah. And then the other thing, as far as, of course, the movie Coco certainly helped us a lot, right?
Didn't it though? I just love that movie. I could watch it a million times.
Me too. I mean, who would think that an animated, movie would educate us? And again, Sonia, we were talking about that on our way over here as far as, Dia de los Muertos. I'm like, well, I don't know a lot about Dia de los Muertos except for Coco, and I'm assuming that it's correct. Accurate. If not, well, I don't know. That's
I hope it is. That's what
yeah.
I'm going by.
Right, me too.
I think it was pretty accurate. Once I discovered what Dia de los Muertos was, I've just totally dived into it. So it's a
Awesome.
pretty accurate depiction of what it means, and it's a day where in Mexico many of the small villages do somewhat of a parade, and they're dressed in the Catrinas, and it's very mums are a traditional flower used in Dia de los Muertos, and then the altar, you put out food for your relatives that come back to visit that one night.
That's right.
And so you put out food for them, make
Right.
sure that they're fed with all their favorite food, and it's
Yeah.
just a really beautiful tribute to your family, and just I think it brings people comfort to think that they're we always think that they're with us, but it's just that whole celebration of life.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Next week, we're going to have hopefully someone from Mecca and also Casa Ramirez. We're looking to interview them. So, definitely going to look more into the altars.
Yes.
Now, one thing I also wanted to ask you, Christina, was about the mural. The Heritage Society, right? They had the Mexican American History mural, and I know that you
Yes.
were involved in that.
I was.
Tell us what was your involvement in that?
So I think I was asked to be a part of that because Mike Vance, who is there with the Heritage Society, was familiar with the radio station and the effect it had on the community, being a voice for the community. So it was definitely something that we knew was going to be in the mural in some way, shape, or form. And he also reached out to Orlando Sanchez, so we raised the money. It went from $25,000 to $90,000
Wow.
plus that we had to raise. So that was
So you were
that was
co-chairs,
challenging.
you know,
Yes,
Orlando.
that was challenging because 25,000 didn't seem like a lot in the beginning, but it was a lot, and then it became 90 because we had to actually build a structure for the mural. But we were very proud of the artists that came in, Jesse Cifuentes and Laura Lopez Cano. They're very, very talented individuals and really represented our
They-
community. Yes.
They did. We had Laura Lopez Cano on our show.
Awesome.
I
Yes.
think the week after. Yes.
Yes, so
now,
it's beautiful.
were you depicted in the mural?
I
also?
was, and I will have to tell everybody that it's not supposed to really be me. It was just a, it was just a Fiestas Patrias Reina, but I've never been one.
That was gonna be my next question. Were you a Fiestas
Yeah,
Patrias Reina?
never was one, but they needed a face in there, and Laura just decided to paint
What
the
a
face in
neat
there.
thing. That was so neat.
It was awesome. So,
Well, it was well deserved for
thank you
for all that fundraising you did
Oh,
for them.
gosh,
Yes.
let me tell you, that was a challenge, but we came through with flying colors and got all of our funding. And I think that we need more murals like this, though, because it still feels like there was a lot of people and things that were left out. We tried our best to put those really important key things that needed to be in there, like LULAC Council 60 and JFK being there, and the Fragas, and
Well,
racy signs. Yeah, but
It was still wonderful. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
And I just want to tell you, thank you not only for being on our show, but thank you for everything that you do for the community. You do a lot.
you.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. And of course, guys, don't forget, it's October the 25th.
Yes.
Right? And of course, where can they get more information online?
So you can go to Morales Memorial Foundation website, or just look on Funeral Home Facebook page is really easy, because we keep posting the links there. Or follow me personally, Christina Morales, on Facebook, and I'm constantly posting, the links to get
Your
to the
followers
tickets.
are gonna
Yeah.
All righty. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank
and we are
you.
going to go ahead and go on to a little commercial. Welcome back to Casa Vida Houston, and I just want to say that I just want to thank Christina Morales once again for joining us. I mean, she is just such a wonderful person, and just so many things that she's doing for the community. It's just incredible. We definitely need more people like her, and we're definitely gonna keep on finding out more about what she's doing and bring her back, absolutely, a few more times. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and tell you about a home buying seminar that we're having. You know me, I love talking about real estate because I think everybody needs to buy a home. So we are going to be having a home buying seminar this Saturday, and so we're having it in Spanish at, let me see, I have it here, the information. It's going to be in Spanish at 10 a.m. and then in English at 11:30. So vamos a tener un seminario para comprar casa en español a las 10 de la mañana este sábado, octubre 20. Y la dirección está en pantalla, 1320 Scott Street in Pasadena. So in English, it's going to be at 11:30. So we want to make sure that we're able to help everyone. So it's going to be at 1320 Scott Street. It is in a church, but there's going to be signs, directing you to the location. And we're calling it 60 Days to a New Home. Now, I know that might seem to some people like unrealistic, but let me tell you, you can buy a home in 60 days. What do you think, Sonia? You think it can be done?
Yes. I think when I bought my home, it was probably less than 60 days. There was a lot of pre-approval stuff that we needed to do, but definitely once the paperwork was done, it moved very quickly.
Yeah, and that's the reason. Honestly, it takes less than 60 days. When we say 60 days, because we're talking about really from the beginning to the end. I'm talking about you come to my office today, in 60 days you will be in a home. It is that simple. And the things that people don't realize that, and that it's that simple. Sometimes, it takes longer, but it's because maybe because people don't have enough education. So one of our goals is to provide you with the information that you need, answer your questions, give you tools so that when you do come to see me or any other realtor, you're already prepared. And so because I think a lot of times people lose a lot of time just kind of getting ready. Sometimes they come to me and they don't really know like what they want. They don't know what kind of house they want. They don't know what kind of area they want. And I'll be honest, and so that's what takes a long time. Like I had, a couple not too long ago, it was in the summer that I was working with them, that they started looking at homes, in one area. I think it was in Baytown. Then we wound up going all the way to the Woodlands. We went to Humble. We went to Katy. We went to Pearland. I'm not kidding you. We went everywhere. And so, the thing is that they really didn't know where they wanted to live. And I think that it's important to do your research first. You want to do your
Definitely.
research. There's so much information online that you can do your research and narrow down the areas,
Yeah.
that you want to live in.
I definitely, I wasn't sure when I had purchased my home many years ago. I wasn't sure if I was the nightmare buyer or if I was the informed buyer, because I'm very particular. I knew which zip codes I was interested in, so I wasn't thinking randomly. I knew, I was looking through all of the listings and getting ideas about what style house I wanted, and the backyard was really important to me. So I did a lot of research, and I remember my realtor would always send me, selections. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want. And so I knew what I wanted and where I wanted it, and narrowed it down to where I wanted it.
Yeah,
So,
but sometimes, but I think it's important to communicate that to the realtor, because
Sure.
sometimes people don't communicate. And that's one of the hardest things is that, I take people out and I try to understand why they don't like the house. They're like, no, it's just not for us. And then they have me take me to a different area, like thinking they're going to find something, but they're not telling me. And so one of the things is that it's important that as a realtor, you tell me so that way I can help you. Honestly, people think that because they have access online to look at homes, that they don't need a realtor. But the truth is, we actually can see more information than you can see.
Sure. And I definitely see the advantage of that, because I remember I would send her a list of like maybe 5 or 6 homes, and then she would do the research for me, and then we'd start narrowing it down from there. And obviously you can see if there's issues with the home, right? Or if it's been flooded and any other pertinent
Right,
information.
we can get that. A lot of times we also have like the seller's disclosures, which the seller's disclosures are just basically a list of things that the seller fills out that tells you any issues with the house or anything that the house has or doesn't have. So those are things that we have access to. We also look at the history, like how many times the home was listed before, how much it's sold for, maybe if it didn't sell. And then there's also agent comments, agents to agents. So the agent that's listing the home will provide comments in there that only we as realtors can see. So
Okay.
that's always very, very important. People don't realize that. And then another thing is that we also know sometimes some homes do not qualify for, say, FHA financing, and we know why they don't qualify.
Sure.
You might not know, but we know.
Sure.
So something like that is very important.
So what can people expect when they go to your class?
Well, one of the things is that a couple of things. One, we're going to answer frequently asked questions. Okay, there are certain questions that we hear all the time, always, and so I want to be able to answer those questions. And since it's going to be in a group, people ask questions, but the thing is, it's usually something that everybody has. Someone
Sure.
else, trust me, I'm going to definitely make sure to encourage people to ask questions, because usually if you have a question, everyone else has the same question. They always have the same questions. The other thing is, we want to talk about myths,
Okay.
about things that people believe that they're wrong. Not wrong, but they always say, well, my cousin this, my tia, my tío, blah, 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 this
Yeah.
and this and this happened. And we need to understand that, the market today is not what it was 10 years ago.
Sure.
So we need to bring them into reality and let them understand, hey, this is what the market is like right now. And for us
Sure.
to know that. The other thing that we want to talk about with them is about credit.
Okay.
Sometimes I find this happens a lot. People, they have their beliefs about credit. Like they think they cannot buy a house because they have a certain thing on their credit, or their credit is at a certain point. And so we want to talk about those things. And sometimes they make these decisions without consulting with a loan officer or with a realtor.
Sure.
And they'll come to us and tell us sometimes, well, no, I'm not ready to buy a house because this. And we're like, no, that's not correct. And so it's keeping them from buying a home. So we want to be able to talk to them about, say, for instance, if you don't have any credit, what should you do?
Sure.
If you have bad credit, can we help you? We can. Even if you have bad credit, there's going to be some steps that we have to take, but we can help you even if you have bad credit. So whether you have good credit, bad credit, or slow credit, or no credit at all, we want to be able to help you, tell you what you need to do.
Is there any documents that they should bring with them, or?
Well, they
Anything?
don't have to bring anything because it's just an information session, but we are going to be able to get you pre-qualified on the spot. So we
Okay.
are going to have a loan officer. So if that's your situation, we can take your application just verbally with your, information. But if if you're really serious and you want to get pre-approved, then you want to bring some documentation. You definitely want to bring with you then at least 3 months of check, or let's just say 2 months of check stubs. 2 months of check stubs from your current job. You want to bring 2 years of tax returns. Make sure that when you bring your tax returns, you bring everything, all the pages, not just the front page, but everything, all the schedules, everything that's attached to it. You also want to bring copies of your most recent bank statements.
Okay.
So we can have that. No, so if you bring that, then we can answer your questions, because it's better to answer your questions with real facts instead of just what if.
Right. And I can see that. I can see, I think in general, people base a lot of their decisions on what their friends say or family members say. So I think it is important to be able to balance what they're hearing, and because everybody's situation is different. So being able to
Absolutely.
speak to somebody who is experienced in selling homes, and be able to give them the appropriate information and the most up-to-date information, because I'm guessing things change regularly.
Yes,
right?
yes. Like I said, things do change, absolutely. And you'd be surprised how many people I've had actually come to me and say, "Well, I can't buy a home because of whatever," and they fill out an application and they're approved, and they're like in shock. They're like,
Yeah.
"What?" And then they're actually very surprised. And then
Sure.
there's other people who want to buy a home and they can't because they think, "Well, I have bad credit, but I'm going to give $30,000 down." No. Some things, even if you have bad credit, even with a big down payment, you still can't buy. But again, we can help you. We can help you if you have bad credit. We've got people that we can refer you to. We've got, depending on what your credit is. If it's something minor, you'd be surprised that the loan officer can help you pretty easily to
Sure.
get that, to get your credit where it needs to be. If it's just something, you need 10, 20 points, we can help you with that. That's something that we can help you with. If you need a little bit more, then we'll still guide you as to what you need to do. So there's things that you can do on your own. There's things that the loan officer can do. There's also we also have some credit repair companies that we can refer you to. There's just so many things, but not everybody has to go through a credit repair company.
Sure.
Some people, we can help you ourselves. It's something very simple. We're also going to talk about your budget. Basically, how much money do you need? How much money do you really need, and why do you need that much money? Because of course we've got down payment, we have closing costs. How much money do you need? And if you don't have money, what are your alternatives? Can you actually come in with zero down? Can you come in with 1,000, 2,000? Do you need 15,000, 20,000? There's just so much information, so we can give you that information. We're also going to have information about down payment assistance programs, because we do have those. So we are going to provide you that information.
So I'm glad you're talking about closing costs, because I think that's something that surprises a lot of people at the very end, and for whatever reason, maybe they either blocked it out or they didn't get the information, and then I know for me, I probably blocked it out, but I said, what? I have to come up with this much money, at the end. But we have to go to commercial break. So thank you, Liz,
You're
for
very
sharing all
welcome.
that information. And you're going to talk a little bit about more details as to what time again and where they can find the information.
Yes. So I'll get back to you as soon as we come back from the commercial about that. Welcome back to Casa y Vida Houston, and we just want to, as we were saying earlier, we are going to be having our home buying seminar. So I want to remind you that we are going to have it at 11:30 in English, and then 10 in Spanish. Así que el seminario es Casa Nueva en 60 días. Vamos a tener un seminario en el 1320 Scott Street en Pasadena. Va a ser este sábado 20 en español a las 10 de la mañana y luego en inglés a las 11:30. Si son bilingües, pues pueden estar en los dos, ¿verdad? Pero estaré yo allí, ¿verdad? Dándoles información. También tendremos un prestamista, Susi Candelopoulos, para darles información, y también les vamos a dar información de programas que le ayudan para el enganche de una casa también. All right, so we're going to have a lot of information for you, so make sure you can look us up on Facebook. Just look up Miranda Properties, or you can look up 60 Days to a New Home, and you can find our information there. So next we want to talk to you about some of the events that are coming up. So definitely, like I said, there are a lot of events coming up for Dia de los Muertos. And so we've got the East End Street Fest that we talked about. So here we have them on here. We've got, let me see. So let's go in order here. First of all, October the 20th, we've got our 60 Days to a New Home seminar, English and in Spanish. Then we've got that East End Street Fest. And remember, guys, that's the one that's going to be at the Navigation Esplanade. And that is a free event for the whole family. And we don't have the time there, but I do know that it starts, I think I said at 12 o'clock noon.
The Street Fest?
Right, the Street
12
Fest.
noon, yes.
Exactly. And then also, you want to tell us what else?
And just a reminder, Christina Morales was here earlier, and she will be doing the Morales Funeral Home will be hosting Death by Chocolate on the 25th of October. It's a great event, and you'll be chocolate wasted. So join us. It's for a great cause. The proceeds go towards nonprofits, so it's really a great cause. We have some other events coming up. Dia de los Muertos, altar procession and reception at Casa Ramirez on October 7th. Play coming up on November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and Calavera Rendezvous at Mecca on November 2nd. But as always, go to Casa y Vida, the Facebook page, Casa y Vida, and you will find a calendar of all of these events, right? And I do want to remind you, it's not on the flyer, but please get out there and vote on the 22nd. Very important. The Monday is the first day of early voting. Polls start at 7 a.m. They close at 7 p.m. You can vote anywhere, any library where you see signs, community centers, schools. So get out there and vote. You have 2 weeks to do early voting. Don't wait until the last minute. Your vote counts.
Right. You cannot complain if you don't vote. I saw this meme. I don't know if you saw it online, and it's a picture of Taco Bell. And it says, voted best Mexican restaurant. And it says, this is what happens when you don't vote.
When people
if you
don't
vote,
vote, right.
then, things like that happen. So you've got to go out there and vote. You cannot complain if you don't vote. So definitely, I encourage you, go out there and vote.
That's a great meme. We'll have to show that one next
Yes,
time.
we're going to have to show it. It is hilarious. All right, guys. Well, that's all that we have for today. I want to remind you that we're on every Thursday at 1 p.m. From 1:30 to 1:50. And next week, like I said, we're working on having some people for Dia de los Muertos for next week. So make sure that you tune in next week. And again, my name is Elizabeth Miranda with Miranda Properties. If you want to sell or buy a home, you can contact me directly on my cell phone at 832-878-1255. And Sonia?
And I'm Sonia Rivera, consultant. I do small business development. If you need assistance in growing your business, doing your marketing, handling, monitoring, or assessing your front and back office procedures, I'd be happy to come in and help. So I can be reached at 832-790-9140. Thank you, and have a great week.
Yeah, see you next week.